France has sent a thinly veiled threat to Boris Johnson after he told the UK to get ready for a no-deal Brexit as negotiations neared breaking point. Boris Johnson on Friday accused European leaders of having abandoned the idea of a free trade deal and told the country to get ready for a no-deal outcome in the negotiations after his October 15 deadline for reaching an agreement passed. European Commission President Ursula von der Leyen had responded to his media statement by vowing that the EU would carry on negotiating, suggesting talks next week in London would go ahead as planned. While France's Europe Minister Clement Beaune said the EU will not strike a deal at any cost. Speaking to BBC Newsnight, Mr. Beaune said, "Outside we are still willing to discuss and to negotiate, we've demonstrated it in the rounds of negotiations recently. It's been months of negotiations on both sides. I think on the EU side it's always been very clear that we are discussing in good faith. But we've always been very clear also that we have priorities, we have red lines, we have a framework of negotiation. We are not willing to strike a deal at any price, at any cost. It's been clearly said by all EU leaders. We will now listen to what the UK side has to say to us on this." Lord Frost, the UK's chief negotiator, spoke with his counterpart Michel Barnier to tell him not to make the trip across the Channel next week. The pair, however, pledged to speak early next week in an indication that hopes of talks continuing have not been entirely extinguished, despite Downing Street telling reporters the negotiations were now over. A Number 10 spokesman said, Lord Frost has spoken to Michel Barnier to update the EU on the Prime Minister's statement. Lord Frost said that, as the PM had made clear, the European Council's conclusions yesterday had left us without a basis to continue the trade talks without a fundamental change in the EU's approach to these negotiations. There was accordingly no basis for negotiations in London as of Monday.